Okay, so if you're new here, go ahead and type new in the comments. If you're watching over on Facebook, if you want to get these show notes, go ahead and type notes in the comments. Or if you're watching on YouTube, just visit the address down below, outstanding.video/notes, and then we'll have the notes sent out to you. So we do have things posted here, and I showed a little bit earlier. So here we have, here's a picture of the blog. And so these are the actual show notes. And then so what I end up doing is I have the Facebook Messenger bot programmed so that it'll go in and grab the notes. I have it sent to a Google Sheet. And then when the notes are requested, it dips into the Google Sheet and pulls it out and sends it to you. But if you want to go check out the blog, again, go ahead and do outstanding.video/blog, and that'll send you to the blog post. And that's the exact same thing as the show notes. I do have other things there, such as the videos, these long form videos, as well as the short form ones. After each one of these episodes, I make a 1-minute version. It's like a snippet. And that 1-minute version, I go ahead and I do some repurposing on. By repurposing, I mean I take the audio, I clean it up a bit, I take the video, and I put transcriptions on it with little fun animations. And when I'm doing the animations, when I do the audio, that repurposing lets me distribute that content in more than one way. Meaning I can put it on Instagram, I can put it on Facebook, and part of the production work that I go through is I end up stripping the audio. Now, stripping the audio creates a little more of a MP3. In the MP3, I can then send that to an RSS feed, which I'm in the process of doing. Just before I went live today, I put on the finishing touches. I put in one test podcast, but now I've got this whole month, I've done the exact same thing. I've stripped the audio, and I've almost got a whole month worth of 1-minute content as well as 15-20-minute shows. So this season 2 has been a little bit different than season 1. A little bit different, meaning there's been more work put into it for automation, more work put into it for removing the complexity, the back-end work, because I don't want to take up a lot of time with this show, and I want to celebrate that it means a lot that you show up. So when it comes to addiction, when it comes to mindfulness, I can appreciate the sensitivity around that. So for myself, what I end up doing is I thought, why don't I make a show about it and then get the information out? Let's get the conversation going. And by doing it in a show format and making it bite size, I can have more episodes more often out there. Okay, so jumping into our conversation here. For season 1, we did long form content, but for season 2, we're going to do more short form content, and we're going to go more often. So we're going to have more episodes scattered more often. I've been going live every day this month, and my plan is to talk about the 12 steps over the next 12 months. All right. So again, if you're new here, let me know. If you enjoy what we're talking about, go ahead and put the hearts, put the stars. But if you want to check out some of these other videos, we do cover quite a bit in step 1. And when we jump into February, we're going to move away from step 1. We're going to jump into step 2. All right. So when it comes to the show title I put is the self-doubt. When it comes to self-doubt, I ended up going and putting myself, I don't want to say I put myself last, but what I will say is there were times where my alcoholic brain, my addict mind would start making decisions for me. Decisions meaning it would start eating away at my thoughts. I don't know about you or if this can relate to you, but I'm the worst at getting inside my own head. I know exactly what I need to say. I know exactly what are the different things I need to push myself towards. That'll cause my brain to flip and wind me up, and that'll make me go 0 to 60. And so my addict brain, my alcoholic mind would make decisions for the longest time. It was definitely not something some of the worst decisions I've made in my life were during that time period. And I'm not saying in a bragging kind of way. I'm just saying that if left unchecked, my ego can run rampant. My ego can make mountains out of molehills. And part of that process, going through that, ends up making me feel like I wasn't in control. It makes me feel like I wasn't contributing. It made me feel I didn't have a place of belonging. And when I'm at that raw state, when I'm at that point where I don't feel like I'm contributing or I don't feel like I'm adding value, if I'm at that point, what ends up taking, like, my pride level goes down, my ego goes up, but then, sorry, when I say pride, I meant myself, how I believed in myself. And if I'm lacking in confidence, if I'm lacking in willpower, and the wrong parts of me are making the worst decisions, what ends up happening then is, as a result, my self-doubt starts to rise. My ego starts to rise. And those situations those environments don't breed more positive environments. It breeds more negativity. It breeds a spot where no one is adding value, nothing is contributing, and it's this self-deprecating. It folds on itself, and it starts from that addiction. It starts from that harrowing state where nothing is adding value, and it's a hard spot to kind of want to change from. If I don't manage that, and that was a large part of the recovery process, was one, identifying that there was an issue, but there was also a spot where I needed to go and say, I need some help. I need some more tools to help get myself out of this. If I can dig myself into a hole, if I can pull myself down even further, eventually I'm going to be hitting that rock bottom. There's a spot where I'm not going to be able to get any lower. And if I'm not getting any lower, it's not a result of like who I am as a person. It's just the situation I'm in and the decisions I'm making and the solutions I'm trying to solve it with are not working. And then if nothing's working, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. And then I keep getting lower and lower. My self-esteem gets lower and lower, and my ego and pride get higher and higher. That's when I start rounding down, and that's when I start making assumptions that I will think that the world will continue to operate the same way that I believe it in. Like, if I believe the world will keep operating today as it did yesterday, I'm assuming that it's the same world we're in. It's the same environment. It's the same scenarios. But if I'm not pushing myself to see outside of that, and it's very hard to want to look beyond that low feeling. It's hard to look beyond that state of, I don't want to say self-doubt, but that state of rock bottom. It's very challenging to want to believe in yourself if you don't have that sense of confidence, you don't have that sense of reassurance, if you don't have that sense of identifying with yourself. And we talked about relationships with ourselves in a previous episode, but if I don't have that grounding foundation, it's very challenging to want to see myself out of it. One, to anticipate a world that's outside of my existing mindset, but also two, to have the will to want to push through it. So one, have the idea, and then two, have the commitment and drive to want to see it through. It's not an easy process, no, but if I never, and even I got to that point where I knew I wanted out, like I knew I wanted a different life. I knew I wanted something other than what I was currently experiencing. I ended up coming to the realization that I couldn't push through, that I just wanted to stay the same. And if I didn't risk anything, and this is what I have in the notes, is if I didn't risk anything, I would never get hurt. I wouldn't have to deal with emotion. I wouldn't have to deal with life. And if I didn't risk anything, I also never achieved anything. But I knew I wasn't happy. And so with no risk becomes no reward, and I'm in the same low state. And then the same low state, I show up tomorrow and things get even lower and things get even lower. And then a crappy situation falls on another crappy situation until pretty soon things keep piling up until I keep getting lower and lower. And that's when there's no more lower to go. There's only so much the body can take. There's only so much the mind, the heart, the soul can take. And that's when the rock bottom hit. We'll talk more about hitting rock bottom in the future in another episode. But when I didn't think I could change, I was at that comfort level where it was a dangerous spot to be in, where I was unhappy at the point where I was at, but I wasn't motivated enough to want to do anything about it. So I was in a very dangerous spot where I knew I wasn't happy here, I wasn't safe here, and it wasn't something I wanted to keep doing, but I didn't want to change to push through it, or I wasn't motivated enough to want to move out of that spot. I don't want to say I was comfortable, but I was certainly lazy. And when you have a lazy day, that's okay. If you have a cheat day, we talked about that yesterday, that's okay. You can have a cheat day, a cheat meal, no problem. But when you have a cheat week, a cheat month, or a cheat year, or a cheat decade, those are harder to dig yourself out of. So for me, in my recovery, once I moved up, once I moved through, once I adopted this world of mindfulness and getting the support I needed, getting myself my own A-team, I was finally able to go and reach out for help. I was able to identify that I wasn't alone and that I had other people out there. Not only was there people just like me, but there were people who were struggling in the same manner. And I was able to go and get that support that I needed. Support meaning I would go to these groups, and when I would attend these meetings, I would make new recovery friends. And when it comes to recovery friends, I'm very much a social person. I love the engagement, and I love the connection that I make, and I love being of value, not just to my new friend, but to a community, to a meeting. And the more I would show up to these meetings, the more I would share. In rehab, they would teach us, like, if you go to a meeting, you have to share. If they call on you, you have to share. There's no questions. And as I attended more meetings, even after completing treatment, I'm still going to meetings, and through sharing, afterwards, people would tell me that they connected with what I shared, and they saw a lot of value in it. And then when you hear that once, that really makes a message that inspires me. And then they would tell me that I inspired them, but I'm inspired by them. And it's like this continuous circle of inspiration. It's this continuous circle of hope. And through that recovery friendship, through that ring of fellowship, through that support network, I was able to help establish that I did have a belonging, that I did add value, and I did have meaning. And that was through sharing my story, through helping others. And I walked away from those meetings feeling like I felt like I had a sense of purpose. And over time, that lifted me up. Over time, that shaped my drive. And what started out at first was a simple blog post or a Facebook post evolved into this show. And I want to say in the past year, 9 months, I've really kicked it into gear. But even before that, I knew I wanted to do something in this space, in this area, and I wasn't sure how to do it. I knew how I wanted it to feel, but I needed help along the way. So I found another set of friends, and these are I call them my live streaming friends. My friends who we connect with and we ask for help. We check out each other's shows. We follow up. We ask questions. We brainstorm. And we have accountability. And through that, I was able to find, when I was new at it, because I want to say the past year and a half, almost 2 years, I've been researching how to do this kind of stuff. I was able to find, I was learning along the way. But as I started asking more questions, I started finding more answers, of course, but I was solving other problems, and I can help other people solve their technical problems, live stream problems. And now I'm at a spot where I can get this up and running comfortably. And we're closing in on a year, in a couple months, we'll be on a year that we've gone live. And we're already on season 2, and look how far we've come. Look how much we've accomplished. I've got show notes that I can send to you. Here, I'll show you the blog post here. And so with the blog post, oh, that's not the right one. Here we go. And then so with the blog post, I also wanted to try something different where we're going to have a gratitude of the day, and we're also going to have an action of the day. And with the gratitude of the day, I'm going to celebrate that I'm thankful for my higher power and my supportive community for believing in me, especially when I didn't believe in myself. For me, that was huge. That was game-changing, because then I felt like I had a place, that I belonged somewhere, and that I truly added value. From somebody that was at such a low spot, that was the best thing that I needed. Me being a social person, like I mentioned earlier, those were things that definitely helped me out. Every person is different in their recovery. Every person is unique, so they have their own spin on things. Whatever works for you may not work for me. Going to meetings and going to groups definitely did work for me. Okay, and then when it comes to action of the day, today's action of the day is today I'm going to celebrate taking healthy risks by making a list of my sober accomplishments. And I'll share those accomplishments with one of my new sober friends. All right. So thanks so much for stopping by. My name is Jason. This is the Outstanding Life Show. We talk about mindfulness. We talk about recovery. If you like what we're doing and you want to find out more, go check out one of the other videos. If you want to get today's show notes, go ahead and click the link below. But I look forward to seeing you in another video. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.